Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, DirectTV 348, Sling, Roku, and AppleTV.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
On Friday, Politico's Dan Diamond first reported that Michael Caputo and his team had been working to change the reports to hew closer to the president's more optimistic message. Quote, Caputo and his team have attempted to add caveats to the CDC's findings, including an effort to retroactively change agency reports they said wrongly inflated the risks of COVID-19. Caputo's team also has tried to halt the release of some CDC reports, including delaying a report that addresses how doctors were prescribing hydroxychloroquine, the malaria drug favored by Trump, as a coronavirus treatment, despite scant evidence. That's not all, though. This thing is kind of happening everywhere right now.
Yep.
A Trump administration appointee and advisor to Caputo is trying to prevent Anthony Fauci from speaking about the risks that coronavirus posed to children. Meanwhile, top U.S. officials told the CDC to soften its coronavirus testing guidelines, right? I want to slow the testing down, the president said, in an apparent effort to get case numbers down. The FDA says it is willing to fast-track a vaccine before phase 3 trials end as Trump pushes for one to be released before Election Day. The Times is now reporting that officials are worried about the prospect of an unvetted vaccine and the pressure being brought to bear on the FDA. This is what is happening in America in the midst of a pandemic under Donald Trump. Political hacks, cranks like Michael Caputo, that guy, they are working in positions of authority to undermine the science we need to fight a once-in-a-century pandemic in an attempt to cover up the illness and death the president is responsible for and to boost the president politically.
And it's not just a Michael Caputo or a Roger Stone that's on, conspiracy websites or talk shows. Or Michael Caputo is taking a leave of absence. This just broke during the break. Michael Caputo, Sunday was the day he went on Facebook Live. Okay, and Sunday he started screaming about this is what he was saying. He was saying, without evidence, quote, there are hit squads being trained all over this country to mount armed opposition to a second term for Donald Trump. You understand that they're going to have to kill me. And unfortunately, I think this is where it's going. And then he started to say, scientists deep in the bowels of the CDC, they walk around like they're monks and holy men, and they're engaged in rotten science. And that the CDC is allowing people to die so America can replace the president, who lied repeatedly about how contagious corona was, how it was spread, how we really needed to wear masks, didn't do anything to prepare the government for the pandemic, didn't do a whole of government approach, didn't have the Defense Production Act, deployed, didn't send PPE. In fact, told the states, you better be nice to me because it's going to be on your shoulders. You guys go bid against each other. I'll be over here as a backup. What do you think? I'm a supply clerk? Remember that? I'm not a supply clerk. You go get your own PPE. You go get your own masks. Go get your own gloves. Go get your own ventilators. And you had Republican governors, going overseas to try and buy test kits because the CDC had failed so badly. And now we find out that, they were reshaping what's called the morbidity and mortality weekly reports so that we would never know how many people were infected. We would never know how many people died. We would never know how many people were tested this week or why or where or how they would. I mean, he said, and Michael Caputo wanted the reports changed to make it the responsibility of the Democrats. You could see this if you're on Twitter. Ronna Wolf, who's like the chairman of the RNC, She actually had the mental incapacity to tweet that this was Joe Biden's fault and Joe Biden can't erase his history on COVID. I don't even, it's all so twisted and so backwards. But Michael Caputo was on Facebook saying, you allowed these people to die. Democrats did. You allow these people to die so you can replace the president. It's a grievous sin. And these people are all going to hell. Now he's taking a leave of absence because he said his mental health is declining. And he needs, you know what his parting words were to the staff? Oh my God, this is unbelievable. He said, okay, this is to Health and Human Services. I believe they have around 80,000 employees, and this miscreant is in charge. Yeah, and he said, he disputed anonymous White House criticism about his mental health, saying some of his comments have been taken out of context, and he concluded the meeting announcing that he was taking a medical leave of absence by telling his staff to listen to music by the Grateful Dead. Okay. All right, we're in good hands, people. We're in good hands. I mean, Dr. Redfield left. You know he left the CDC because of the political interference. I mean, this is where we are. And he said there are hit squads being trained all over this country. You understand that they're going to have to kill me. He said, I'm not going anywhere. And he was put in charge of a $250 million public service advertising campaign on COVID, on the information that the American people needed to get on COVID. I mean, this is just crazy.
And so what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape, but it's a very tricky situation. It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. People don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know. It's
pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per. This is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
195,386 dead people in the United States. And he's sitting there back in February saying this is deadly stuff. We lose 25 to 30,000 people a year to the flu. It's been 6 months and we're almost to 200,000 dead people, and they expect it to double. They expect it to go to 400,000. Now, 100 years ago in 1918, 100 years ago, we lost about 650,000 people to the Spanish flu, which was an American flu. So this is where we are. And you got guys like Michael Caputo rigging reports, leaving and taking a leave of absence for health reasons, but he denies it's his mental health, even though he had to delete his Facebook account saying my mental health is declining, that the shadows on the ceiling were long. They were very, very long. And he doesn't like living alone. He doesn't like living alone in Washington because the shadows on the ceiling, right? And his final parting words to HHS and the staff there, which is like 80,000 people, was to listen to Grateful Dead music. In the middle of a pandemic. In the middle of global warming, climate crises, hurricanes and fires, and ginning up of violence. Roger Stone, I swear to God, Roger Stone told Alex Jones that Donald Trump needs to see, this is a quote, I'll play it. He needs to seize total power. Seize total power.